Hey guys, my name is Damien from North Park Films, and today we're going to be talking about Stonefields Estates, a wedding venue located in Ottawa, Ontario. It's about 40 minutes from the main city, but it's very easy to get to, very accessible for your guests, even if they decided they want to stay in a hotel downtown. It's not too far away from the main city. So I'm going to start with a get ready. The get ready locations at this place are, both of them are like in these houses that they almost feel like log houses, but it has like a modern, like elegant feel to it. The groomsmen usually get ready in this one house. Usually when I go in there, the guys are like, it feels like they're just hanging out. This is a great spot, I think, for the guys to get ready, a bit more moodier. So if that is your vibe, then I think this is a good room. But if you want something more bright and airy, then I would go with the next place I'm going to talk about. The second get ready location is usually where the bride gets ready. It's this big house that has 2 floors. Top part, I would call it the bridal suite. I'll call it the bridal suite. There's multiple bedrooms on this top floor, but this main room right here is usually where I see the bride get ready. You have a massive space here if you want to get bridal party photos. If we go downstairs, there's a whole kitchen, a living room, and then there's also this space here where there's like a fireplace as a backdrop, and then I've seen bridesmaids do photos here. I've seen a bride do a first look with her father here. This space could be utilized to do many different things, but I think it's a good space to kind of retreat with the bridal party and kind of get some shots just before you run off to the ceremony. There are a lot of spots you could do the first look here. I think your backdrop is always going to be something nice. It could be a building, it could be grass, it could be trees, but a few that I want to mention is in front of the building. I think the barn, like the big barn house, I think having that as your backdrop is nice. You could do your first look way at the back of the venue. There's like this open green space. I did a first look there. It was more intimate. We got away from the crowd. They just made it so that like nobody could see you or see you guys early on. Probably like maybe a 3-minute walk. If you're walking in heels, there is grass. Kind of consider that, but if you're okay with that, then I think the space at the back is good. There's also like this little hidden section. You literally walk. You could do your first look there if you wanted to. I've seen it done there as well. I guess it just depends on what you want your backdrop to be and how much privacy you want. And then of course there are these other spaces that I will show with portrait sessions that you could also use as well. So let's transition into portraits. So in terms of portraits, Stonefield kind of has like an infinite amount of spaces where you could do portraits. Your backdrop is either trees or it's some of the buildings, and each building kind of has a different look or aesthetic to it that I think it kind of adds to whatever you're going for. You have kind of a log house look, you have the more, the chapel has more of a white elegant look to it, and then you have the farmhouse. Depending on what you're going for, the possibilities are kind of endless. I don't know if I could just go through each one and give you specific things about them, but they also have like these random open green spaces that it's just like it extends from one thing to the next, and it just creates a completely different vibe and aesthetic to it. So the possibilities are endless in terms of portraits. Next thing I want to talk about is the ceremony. So 95% of the time I've been at this venue, the ceremony has been in the white chapel. Sometimes I wonder if maybe people have done it differently. I just haven't seen it differently, but I've always seen it in this white chapel. The lighting is great in here. It bounces, the light's always bouncing off the white walls inside the chapel. It has more of a modern aesthetic to it. Yeah, the lighting in here is great. This room does not have speakers built into the ceiling, so if you do want a wedding ceremony with a microphone, then you will have to have like a little soundboard. I think they provide that, I'm not entirely sure, but usually the DJ brings like a speaker and they set it up, and usually that's what kind of gives you your sound. But there's no designated speakers in the ceiling for if you're trying to use a speaker or a microphone. Next thing I want to talk about is the reception. Every time I've shot a reception at Stonefields, it's been in this big barn house. Usually the bride and groom will enter from the front. They'll do their first dance kind of in the center there, and then everybody's kind of seated on the other side of the room. And then that spot where they do their first dance usually ends up being the dance floor at the end of the night. Conveniently, it's right in front of the bar. I mean, you never walking that far to the bar, but in this case, it's right there, so that's great. Usually bride and grooms will set up a lot of like a donut wall or cake or little decor off to the left side of the room. In terms of speeches, your podium usually ends up being off to the left side of the room, and your backdrop is usually the doors. If you guys are looking for a wedding venue with kind of a mix of modern versus, if you're looking for a wedding venue that kind of feels modern but still feels homey, then I think this is a great wedding venue. There's a lot of potential with this venue in terms of all the spaces and kind of how they play into each other and what they could be used for. This wedding venue is located in Carleton Place, so it's very close to the city. It's very accessible. Very easy to get to, and yeah, it's a great wedding venue. If you guys have any like super specific questions about this wedding venue, let me know in the comments, and happy wedding planning.